All right, welcome back to Beyond the Court with League One Volleyball, where we deep dive with some of the top coaches and leaders in volleyball and beyond. I'm your host, Courtney Thompson, and we all know a great coach will challenge their athletes to find their best in every area of their game, while also committing to and helping inspire and motivate them in ways that go far beyond the court. Today, we are so lucky to be joined by Sue Enquist, who is UCLA softball's first ever All-American. Sue was later named the head coach of UCLA Bruins program from 1997 to 2006. During her time as a player and a coach, the UCLA softball program won 11 national championships, which is unheard of. Sue now uses her experience and teaches effective principles of coaching and leadership at UCLA Graduate School of Education and Information Studies, while also consulting for many programs across the country, including our very own Team USA Volleyball. Sue was the culture coach for USA Volleyball when they won their first ever gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics, and she's now helping the team gear up for the Paris Olympics, and we are so fired up to have her on. Sue, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I love being on with you.
Yeah, we're excited here at Beyond the Court. I want to start by just asking you, you're consulting with a lot of different teams, with a lot of different leagues. You're helping so many people become the best they can be. Can you just, in whatever way feels true to you, catch us up on what got you to this point?
I've been doing this for a long time. I think what got me here is I am a product of my family. So I'm a daughter of a military father and a mother that was a nurse. I'm the youngest of three. My brother's 11 months older than me, taught me everything I know about competitive greatness. And my sister's 4 years older. So I had like a second mother. That was my foundation. I think what was different for me is every step along the way, academically and athletically, I was surrounded by people that created belief. And they did it in an authentic way. They did it in a way that was connective to me. So whether it be my kindergartner teacher or it was my high school baseball coach, because I'm a recipient of Title IX, whether it was a coach in college that said belief is what really drives championship behavior, or even as a consultant, just I became those things. And so how I got to jumping over into the volleyball world is I coached at UCLA for 27 years. I was a player, assistant coach, co-head coach, head coach. I was an administrator, and now I currently am a professor in the Graduate School of Education. But I'm also a consultant around team culture and individual mastery, right? So we're dealing with how do you become your best, and then how do you learn to untether your ego and become a part of a group. So my consulting work is in multiple sports, corporate and athletic arenas, and then working both with teams and individuals. And so during the pandemic, I was supposed to be in Anaheim. It actually shut down live activities, got on a Zoom, and actually my worlds collided with our national team and our youth coaches for USA Volleyball. And I was going to be speaking on competitive greatness and leadership. And that's how I actually made the bridge to now being involved with volleyball.
I'm so excited to pick your brain here, but before we fully dive in, what as an outsider coming into the community that is volleyball, what did you notice most about our sport and kind of the culture around our sport?
That's a good one. I noticed this right off the bat. I have had the opportunity to be in multiple large team sports, different sports, men and women. This is what I noticed at the parent, volunteer level, player level, dedicated club level, competitive high school level, low-level college, high-level college, national team, professional players, coaches. The character of this sport is unprecedented in my experience.
Wow.
I have never been involved with so many leaders that truly are doing it for the betterment of the game. And everybody that knows who Sue Enquist is, I am softball. You cut me open, little softballs are going to come out. I love the game of softball. Yeah. I love the leaders that built this sport of softball. I stand on the shoulders of so many people before me. But I need to tell you, volleyball is unique. And in my experience, you could get 100 people that are going to tell you a different experience. But I deal on the player level, the volunteer level, the parent level, the coach level, the research level, the marketing level, the promotions level, just all of these things, leadership level. I've never met so many people with such character.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
It is a special community. Yeah. And a cool size. It feels like it's a small world, and also there's so many opportunities. But so bridging the two sports that now you love, you have been a part of creating and consulting for some professional softball leagues. And you're also helping with a few in volleyball leagues that are starting in the US. And my question is, regardless of what league, whether it's Love or PVF or Athletes Unlimited, which are all doing amazing things, what do you hope most for professional volleyball? Or like, what do you hope these leagues get right? And also, what are you most concerned about?
Thank you for that question. I sit in a very interesting intersection because as a part of USA Volleyball, which is just the most amazing journey that I've ever been on outside of UCLA coaching.
So cool.
But I sit in intersection because I've worked with PVF, I've worked with Athletes Unlimited, and I work with Love League One. And they all are approaching this idea of professionalism a little differently, right? That there's beauty in that. What do I hope that we all get right? That communication amongst us all is the number one strategy. The transparency for player care, player development, player performance, shared data around developing the human that's competing, sharing that information. We have an opportunity because of the character of the people in this sport. I know we have the capacity to braid together at some level, a collaborative mindset that the player comes first. But I also acknowledge, listen, I have two businesses. So I understand business 101. So I'm not here, hey, everybody, rainbows and unicorns. You know, at the end of the day, you don't see McDonald's and Jack in the Box having festivals together. But when you look at the franchisee model, there are people that actually are more collaborative and they end up being further along because shared knowledge catapults you to the front of creating better change.
I love that perspective. You kind of touched on it, but is there any like big concern you have?
Yeah, I do. I in my world as a consultant, when I'm working, doesn't matter the sport, volleyball included, when I hear language around we're the best way, we're the only way, that takes our eye off of the ball, which is the player. And so for me, if we, no matter what business you're in, because every program has to build a business model that is sustainable. And we can't say we're going to do this and it doesn't align with a business strategy, because then those end up being empty promises to the coaches, the support staff, and the athletes, and ultimately the fans. Yeah. It's an empty promise. And then that's when 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, the league starts to implode. So we have to stop thinking as a fan and as somebody connected to the sport, we have to stop thinking it's just about a deep pocket. Listen, I got drafted in a pro softball league in 1978.
Wow, no way.
Right? And there's a fun fact.
Yeah.
That there are so many leagues that started and stopped, started and stopped, started and stopped. And I have been a part of all of them. So you can say I'm part of the problem because I wasn't able to make it better. But one common red flag, the models were all the same. They were all the same model. New set of people, new set of money, same model. New set of people, new set of money, same model. And so I believe if we are learning from our past, no matter what the sport is, right? Volleyball's given it a shot. Volleyball tried to start things. I remember back in the 70s and 80s, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if we can learn from that and say we have a sustainable model. Now, listen, it's not going to be perfect out of the gate. And our listeners need to understand we're in a renaissance. Renaissance means new beginning. We're in a renaissance, a revival of women and women in sports. There's a revival happening. There are new groups getting involved. We're getting exposure and respect and the attention that we deserve. We're in a renaissance. And with a renaissance, I call it the messy front end. Mm-hmm. We're in the messy front end of change. So like, think about basketball. Think about what's happening with our soccer leagues. Everyone's like, oh, look at that. I can't believe. No, this is the messy front end. This is what success looks like in the front. We're going to look back in 15 years and go, remember how bumpy it was in the beginning. So to our volleyball friends and fans and workers, be patient as these leagues start out, because it starts slow. Think like a locomotive. Start slow, it's going to finish fast.
Oh, it's so fun. I love the tone of this. Like, it really is so much bigger than all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you're in that, it is bigger than the me versus you. Like, it's like the highest level of competition in volleyball. The best of the best aren't looking sideways and going, how are we better? It's like, no, I'm in this pursuit of what is possible. And what I love about that is that we need families, fans, everybody to be in this, co-creating this experience and what we want to shape together. So I love hearing you talk about that.
Yeah, and if we could, I want to just sidestep this. I want to, because you touched on it just now. Like when you say, our families in our communities, I want to acknowledge that there are families out there that are literally living week to week on their finances. There are families out there that literally can't go on a travel program. There are families out there that don't have the privilege that we see in this society. Like, we understand that, but you have no idea. There's so many ways just by simply following athletes, following teams. If you've got an iPhone and you've got clearance to be in social media, that's new currency. So you may be a mom or dad and you're like, dang, we don't have the money to be on a travel team. We don't have the money to go to these games. But you have a way to give us a vote of approval, a vote of support. And that's just with a thumbs up. That's with a click. That's with a heart emoji. That's with a little sentence saying, we're pulling for you. Your voice matters. And what I love about what League One's doing is they have a whole foundation built around, we're going to build a community. We're going to build an ecosystem that is rooted in access, that is going to be rooted in opportunity. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. The youth ecosystem right now is broken. We have to first acknowledge that. And that will be something we'll probably talk about in a couple minutes, because that's the down and dirty part.
Yeah, well said. It is. And we were geeking out right before this of one of the things I'm most excited about across all of the leagues is there's so many phenomenal young women playing and competing. And like, I was listening to a podcast yesterday with Glennon Doyle and Abby and Tobin Heath, and they were talking about, for a young girl to look at female athletes who are using their bodies in this beautifully physical way and the vulnerability it takes to go for something. And in athletics, you get a chance every day to emotionally, physically, mentally, like freaking go for it. And it's so hard and it's so awesome. And I love that you brought that up about access, because whether you're at the games or watching online or following online, even, you get to hear these stories of these beautiful young women. So, and we need more of that, man.
Yeah. And I think, I learned something, I came from a predominantly white community, South Orange County. I grew up as a surfer and I didn't know any other way.
Yeah.
And when I went to UCLA, the world opened up to me. I saw all the different paths to success. And one common principle is access. Mm-hmm. We have this idea of what excellence looks like when you look at the end line. Well, it's supposed to be this, this, and this. We have to start looking about where they start. And not everybody starts at the same time, at the same place. And once our community recognizes that and we start building in, and when I talk about building, and when I talk about UCLA, I learned something at UCLA, and what they had learned UCLA, I'm brewing through and through. So I'm going to be plugging my
I love
Bruins.
it. Hey, I love it.
That Bruin DNA, right?
RIP Pac-12.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, making that adjustment. This
Yeah.
is what I learned at UCLA as a public institution is it's one thing to open your doors and invite all walks of life, all backgrounds, all sexual, that's a beautiful thing. But it is a game changer to go out to those communities and drop into those communities and say, we are here for you, alive, to tell you exactly how we can help each other and what it does to those communities that don't have local access.
Yeah.
Is a game changer. And so to all those communities that have been blessed with access, opportunities, finances, and you're saying, hey, 3 times a year, we do free clinics. I tip my cap to you. Thank you. I'm going to challenge you to rent a bus and make partnerships with communities that don't have the opportunity to travel to your part of the community. Go out there and grab them. And it's this idea of I've been so influenced by my co-instructors in the Graduate School of Education that are really doing the heavy lifting of social justice and equal opportunities. And I want to be sensitive. I know our topic's not about this, but I learned some great principles. And she told me this story about it's like having a party. Playing sports is like having a party. And one thing to say is everybody's welcome and you keep the front door open of your party, right? Everybody's welcome to come in. But man, it's a different kind of party. Once you're in, they're grabbing you and saying, come dance on the dance floor.
Ooh, yeah.
So I'm going to ask those clubs, how many people have you invited to the party, your club, and how many have you actually grabbed those kids and those families and those communities and say, come on our dance floor?
Yeah.
And to me, it's a slight nuanced difference, but I believe once that becomes a standard, that we're going to go out and advocate and tell these great stories about these children that just want this opportunity to belong, to be invited and grabbed and put on that dance floor.
I love that analogy. I want to take us back to USA Volleyball.
Yeah.
And you became a part of the team in, it was 2020?
Yeah.
And you helped our team win a gold medal for the first time. So I'm curious, just what stands out to you when you think back to that experience with the USA team?
The first thing that stuck out was, starts at the top with Karch, is amazing curiosity around how we could get better as a program. And so it starts with the coaching staff and the leadership that let's create some conditions to make sure that this team knows how to out-team the world. He was very fixated on this idea that he was saying we put an incredible strain on these women because they're in Europe for 3/4 of the year. And then when they come, I have a rotating roster because we have to out-team the world. So we have to have depth that is capable of plugging in and performing right away.
Out-team the world. Let's go.
Yeah. So what I do as a consultant, as a culture consultant, the first thing I do is I come in and I look at what processes, what plans are in place. Are they being executed? Are they accountable? And do they know how to have that resiliency, their learning agility to adjust and adapt based on the situation? So it falls in 3 areas. First, I look at the people relationships. I look at the process and the plans that those people are executing. And then I look at the platform. I look at where are we doing all this great work? In the gym, on the road, all those kinds of things, right?
Oh, yeah.
But first come in and do an assessment on that. And I always start with listening first. So for me, the goal is to build a transformational environment. And that's kind of a word that a lot of people hear nowadays, but you could get 100 people and you're going to get 100 different definitions.
Sure.
Transformation to me simply means this: everybody involved with the organization listens first. And then what they do with the listening, they learn stuff and build plans and processes from that. And then from that plan and process, they assess and adjust based on whether it's working or not. So there's an ecosystem of transformation. The second part of transformation is leaders and followers are learning all together at the same time.
Oof, that's a powerful nuance.
So when I came in, Karch said, I want this team to know they have the power to out-team the world. I want the team to know from a technical, tactical place as a volleyball coach, they have the power to out-team the world. And the only thing we had in common was Karch and I went into the Hall of Fame at UCLA at the same time.
No way. Oh, that's fun.
When I left that meeting with Karch, all I could keep hearing, out-team the world, out-team the world, out-team the world. And so when I went to the player meeting, the first thing I always ask one question first as a consultant. Anonymous question on a questionnaire, what's holding you back? That's it. People go like, where are you talking about volleyball in the cafe on my, nope, just start typing. And so what we did is we built domains around what was holding us back individually and as a team. Then we built working groups off of those domains. So this team now was living every single day. We're in charge of building this. We're building the culture.
That's really cool.
So they identified their problems, built the working groups, executed it. Then we do our after action review. What worked? What didn't work? What do we need to improve? And then we just created that cycle. And remember, we were living on Zoom.
Oh, gosh. That's really cool.
We were not even together. I didn't get to be in a gym with them until like 9 months later.
That is wild.
And I remember walking in the gym for the first time, right? I was like, I can't wait to see our women. Wait to see our women. And I remember walking in going, holy smokes. Because on Zoom, everybody's 5'6" in my mind.
For sure.
Everybody's 5'6".
Yeah.
And in their mind, everybody's at least 6'2".
That's so real.
So when I walked in, I was like, whoa. And when they saw me, they were like, whoa.
How tall are you, Sue?
I'm not telling, because look, everyone doesn't know if I'm 6'2" or 5'6". I'll never forget this. The first woman I met, she turned around, she looked down, the first words out of her mouth, whoa, shawty.
Oh my gosh.
Haley Washington,
Yes.
whoa, shawty.
Yes.
So things that we learn in a pandemic, right?
That's
but
amazing.
those were the core tenets, was Karch handing over the belief that they're good enough, handing over the control, you can build it, and then we'll out-team the world, which we did. And I can't wait. Someone at some point, I hope in my lifetime, will write a book and do a movie about this group. The stories are still being told. We got a story that's going to be coming up in Paris. But when we're talking about the path to Tokyo, it is a beautifully messy, organic, authentic, life-changing experience for so many of us.
It does feel in every way, as a fan watching at home, which I was, as a former player on the national team, you guys just hit some magic. And it's like, it's so fun to watch the ripple effect of that throughout our sport and everything. So I would love that too.
Yeah. And magic in our world at UCLA, we have a thing called Bruin magic, right? Mm-hmm. But inside behind the curtain, magic, one of my biggest mentors and friends was Coach John Wooden.
Oh yeah.
Coach Wooden, who was the most successful basketball coach in the country from a transactional standpoint. He won 10 NCAA championships, but he's actually known for being a thought leader and somebody that really taught people to let character drive people's process on the athletic arena, and you're going to eventually get the results. And for me, Papa used to always say, now don't forget magic. The definition of magic is deception. Right? So we never wanted to say, oh, we're deceiving people. Right. He says, actually, magic means preparation meets opportunity. And so we always say, oh, Bruin magic, you're getting called upon in the bottom of the seventh to get up to the plate. Here's your opportunity to execute. So when preparation meets opportunity, Bruin magic. I feel the same way when it came to this this USA team, I knew that they were on a journey that was going to be a lifelong story for them. There was no doubt. I was so convinced. I mean, I could tell you a million stories where just so many signals, so many untold stories, so much lonely work, so much selfishness that never made the media. Those are the stories that I can't wait to be told someday.
I love the question you start with. What's holding you back?
Yeah.
And I'm just imagining a parent, a coach, somebody in business that wants to bring kind of this, I'm going to call it player-driven culture,
Yep.
which is seemingly the most effective way currently that's being talked about a lot. How can someone bring this to a team of young athletes or corporate athletes or just friends in general? Like it's so depersonalizing.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like it removes the ego of like, how do we all get better here in service of something bigger than us?
Well, first of all, thanks for the question, because I want to acknowledge to all of our thousands of volunteers out there, moms and dads, you said, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to jump in the crazy clown car called youth sports, right? Let's call it what it is. It's a clown car, and nothing against any one individual, but the system's broken. It's not regulated. We got to tell parents the rules of the truth. There's less than 1% of you and your daughters are going to get a scholarship to the school of your choice. Less than 1% are going to get a full ride scholarship to the school of their choice. Wow. We need that to lead with that. How do we do it? Because we're doing it at a very sophisticated level here, right? Yeah. I mean, their teammateship, they have an analytic attached to their teammateship.
It's unbelievable.
Okay, so it's very sophisticated on our level, and it's very difficult for some people because it's a truth-telling device. Mm-hmm. But what we want people to know when you're evaluating teammateship, it's about fit. It's not about character. We're not saying if you're a bad teammate, we're not saying you're a bad person. We're saying you're not aligning what the team voted for and it's not fitting. Okay. So we first have to acknowledge what it is. But I want to talk on a really simple level to the mom and dad that have a 10 and under volleyball team from Costa Mesa or from Atlanta, Georgia. You want to know how you can build a culture? The first 5 minutes, you put all your men and women, girls and boys, whatever it is, in a circle and say, pinkies connected. We're going to take 2 minutes and we're going to be grateful for all the people that helped us get here. You're going to take 30 seconds, close your eyes. You got the names, perfect. Open your eyes. We're going to popcorn 3 times. We're going to do that for 2 minutes. Then we're going to take another minute to talk about 3 different skills. Each skill gets a minute. Okay. 2 minutes for gratitude, 3 minutes for individual skills. Same circle, close your eyes. Minute number 1, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remind ourselves of the work we put in. So go ahead and run it through your mind. Close your eyes, run it through your mind. All the sacrifices that you're making. You're coming to practice for 90 minutes every day. You're missing going to the lake with your friends on Saturday. You're putting in the work. Let's get those stories going because that's part of what we call your inventory. Got to take a minute on work ethic. Next minute, close your eyes. We're going to talk about your attitude. You're going to take inventory. You're going to go ahead and play the stories about how you have an attitude of positivity. Because we're humans and we actually don't really get more motivated when somebody is being Captain Obvious. We have to take a minute around being positive. The easiest thing in the world is to talk about what's not working, okay? Mm-hmm. So that means you're the person that doesn't put a filter on what comes out of your pie hole. To every single parent and your daughter, be aware of what comes out of your mouth. You may be driving with your husband or your wife or your partner, whatever it is, and your kids are in the backyard, and you two are arguing about the ref, the concession stand, who should be in the back court, who should be the dub sub, who needs to be coming in from the Shh. Be aware of what comes out of your pie hole. Be positive because you're going to be teaching that daughter how to be positive. When you're in the car, lots of shenanigans happen that people don't even be aware of. So your attitude is that second minute. The last minute, you pick sports. You are on a path. As long as you're in sport, you have to master failure recovery. You have to master being resilient. I have to own the mistake and move on. If I don't, the game's going to gobble me up. 5 minutes, you do that every day. Do the 5 minutes in the front, or do the 5 minutes in the back, or split up the 5 minutes. You do that every day. Those young women are going to grow up. They're going to understand gratitude, be thankful for what you got. Some of you are spoiled. Number two, you're going to understand the work that you've put in, because that's part of your inventory. You're going to be aware of how to be positive, and you're going to know your secret superpower is failure recovery. This idea that I know how to move through things, because life is one big path of slaloming, going around, above, through obstacles.
It feels so true. I love that.
And then if you want the middle road is a transformational way of doing. Middle road is, now we're going to do some anonymous feedback. We're going to find out what's working, what's not working. We're going to get feedback on fatigue, mental fatigue, technical fatigue, tactical fatigue. So you're going to be actually transformationally listening anonymously. This is where I see there's a huge blind spot in youth sports. I'll talk to coach. I've never met a coach that said, I think our culture's average. Every coach I talk to says, oh yeah, we have a great culture. And I say, how do you know? And they're like, oh, the girls are laughing and they're having that's not what I asked. I didn't ask if they're laughing at practice. I said, how do you know you have a good culture? Because culture, the anchors of culture are about how we relate to each other, the relationships. Mm-hmm. That involves another human. So there are character skills that involve relationships. And then performance character skills. These are skills that have to do with you getting the top, that you don't need other people in your performance skills, like work ethic. I don't need somebody else to work hard. Yeah. Sacrifice. I don't need anybody else to give up things that I'm doing. So performance skills have to do with things I can do completely on my own. The tricky part is the relationship skills, because I need other people to make those skills grow and develop. So every single day as a coach, I was always weighing these two anchors. Where do we need more relationship? Where do we need more performance? And then how do I collect anonymous information? Remember, you're a boss. When you ask a subordinate, hey, do you like it here? What do you think they're going to say? No, this is a clown car and I want out. It's not going to happen. So build in an anonymous way for you to get feedback. And then what we have to do with our leaders, because many of you are volunteer coaches, you get this sense that you're a failure. Don't worry about that. You think of yourself as you're the host of the party. What would you like to drink? What would you like to eat? Your job is to facilitate this experience so they fall in love and they raise their hand at the end of the season. I say this all the time. Youth coaches, anybody that's coaching anybody 18 and under, your job is to get every single kid to raise their hand at the end of the season and say, I can't wait to sign up again next year. That's your only job. That's your only job, because I know you get caught up in the X's and O's. I understand that. Yeah. But your job as a youth coach is to keep them in the volleyball bubble.
So good. Okay, I want to keep pulling on that thread. And I've heard you talk about grit and grace.
Yeah.
And it's a question phrased differently that I get a lot with youth coaches. That's, hey, I want our athletes to have the capacity to be able to do very difficult things and to stand in their own presence within that. And so we want them to be gritty. We also want to offer grace and teach them self-compassion so they can move through, and grace for others. How do you balance that as a coach?
If you're, first of all, I want to profile in a generation mm-hmm. level. First of all, if you're dealing with anybody, if you are a coach and you're over 40, you need to make sure you get educated on our millennials and our Gen Zs. And what does that mean? It means that this population experienced something in society that our generation never did. And that is doubt, fragility, in things that in society for us growing up were stable. Number one, families. Families were very stable. Very rarely would there be a breakdown of a family unit. School systems were really stable. Political systems, they may have been just as crooked back in the day. We didn't know it. Sure. So there was a sense of hierarchy, belief systems, stability. We're safe. Everything looks good. And although this is an exciting time, because you can't get away with shenanigans like you could back in my generation.
Yeah.
It also, this little human growing up also has the smartphone. And so now at the palm of their hand, this is their number one influencer. For the first time, parents are not the number one influencer. That's a new thing parents have to deal with. So if they have a phone, that's their number one source. They're going to go to Google. They're going to get stuff on their phone that's going to come up.
Terrifying.
It is. And so if you're a youth coach, a volunteer coach, or you're a paid coach, the first thing you have to understand, they didn't have the stability that you had, the consistency. So I hear, when I deal with youth coaches, I hear this all the time. Oh, kids don't get it. Or, they're so fragile. Or, coach, they don't love it like we did. Okay, now what? Thank you, Captain Obvious. Now what? So if you could just listen to yourself and say, I have an opportunity to make their 2 hours at volleyball practice the best 2 hours of their day. I have that power to make it the best 2 hours of the day. You have the power to make it the best 2 hours of the day. I literally, if I could go back in coaching, I would have asked every student, did I win today? Did I make this the best 2 hours? Because in my mind, I was competing against boyfriends, girlfriends, academics, social, all of that, right?
Yeah.
I literally said, my job is for them to walk out of there going, I am seen, I'm valued, and they work me to the bone, and I'm better for it.
Yeah.
I ask every coach that says, oh, kids don't get it today. Kids are different. When I deal with these youth sport children, I'm excited. So what do you have to do? You have to listen more. You have to say, I can create the conditions. What do you guys need? Coach, we just need a moment to get in our mindset. Perfect. We call it state management. You need to evaluate your state of mind. Mm-hmm. Now I know I'm 66. So I know my generation is going, what do you need to do? I mean, I have friends that call it voodoo. Oh, Sue, you getting into the voodoo, the mental training space? I'm like, dude, we have the science. If we hold space for state management, allow them to deep breathe, let their breath, which is now called the second brain, let the breath control the mindset through the chemical neuro resetting. Yes, you can have 2 minutes to do a neuro reset in the middle of practice. You can have 3 minutes to do a deregulation, de-escalation right before practice is over. So spend 5 minutes on culture. Spend 3 minutes before, during, and after on state management, mental resets. This is an exciting time as a coach. And then every single day, your job is to make practice fun. No, I was talking to a coach the other day. I don't know if you know this, coach. I'm here to teach them how to play volleyball. And I'm like, in the long run, not really. You're actually here to teach them to realize they're an amazing human, potentially could be a great leader. And then if they get technical and tactical, bonus. But we don't start with our mental mindset. We don't start with culture and what it means to be a strong individual that knows how to untether their ego to be a great teammate and then tether back on a great individual. So team sport is individual, team. And that's why it's so difficult, because athletes don't know when to be in their ego and when to be in their teammateship mode, because they're vacillating back and forth.
I think putting language to that for them and bringing some awareness and the allowance of like, it's okay to be pissed. And what are we going to do? Like, I love it. Get in there. Be honest.
We build an environment, and the women on the march to Tokyo, majority of them are here. Yeah. They do an amazing job of being where their feet are.
Yeah.
And they've built up this trust equity where they can go. I think we're people, if I were to say something, not just our volleyball women, to all high performance, they have the same angst as somebody that may be less experienced or at a lower level, because the margin for error is even smaller.
Yeah.
So if you were to do a brainwave mapping of Jordan Larson's brain, and when she's heightened, it's going to look the same as a 10th grader in high school that's in their first state championship. Because it's all relative to the athlete. Now, I got to say that twice, because the half listeners are going to say, I listened to Sue Enquist and she said that Jordan Larson is like a high schooler, right? we're saying the brain goes through the same experience contextually. And once we realize that as coaches, our job is for them to start auditing their thoughts. We can't control the thought that comes in, but we can control how we react to it emotionally. Can't control it, what comes in. Like, we've all had that, right? We're just like going along, having a great day. And then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I hope I pass that biology test. Comes out of nowhere. Yeah. If you audit it and you're like, hey, that's just my weak voice that's warning me about the potential of getting an F. I'm going to park that because I'm going to be putting 2 hours in a couple hours to study that. And then the brain loves to be compliant. Once you tell the brain what to do, it loves to put stuff in compartments, and then you can be where your feet are. If we could just implement all this in practice, they would have a great experience. The other thing on that too is we're not doing a good job on keeping up with the technical performance of teaching drills and teaching biomechanics. And our poor volunteer coaches are trying to wing it based on what they learned. And that's another thing, is to standardize movement, understand basic biomechanics, then start the technical stuff. Then start all of those things where you have to make game day decisions. And we're doing that out of order too, because we're not funded to do all those things for the athlete.
Yeah, coach development's tough. And coaching is rocket science. There are so many paths that you got to be aware of and master of. But you're right. And I love how simply you put that. Like, when we can understand the point of this whole thing to help these athletes have the awareness and the conviction to be able to be them in any environment, let's go. Then volleyball becomes really fun.
And I was talking to this woman, and she says, Sue, I'm an engineer. I volunteer for my daughter's basketball program. And I said, God bless you. Thank you for your service.
Right? Shout out to all of the coaches that are just I'll do it.
All the moms and dads that raise their hand, they don't have the time. I just want to acknowledge you. And she says, I don't have creativity is not my thing. And I've heard you talk about joy and have fun. And I said, here's the great thing. This generation, they want to be in charge.
Yeah.
So say to them, I tell coaches this often. I was telling the women this. You will be amazed. She goes, they're young. They're like 12. I'm like, this is how I'm going to challenge you. Hey, everybody, we practice on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I want everybody to know on Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to have fun zone hour. In the fun zone hour. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And you're going to go, I'm going to give all of you 15 minutes to come up with some games for those 2 days. They will be like bees on honey.
That's so great.
They will come together, do it all. They will be so much better at it than you ever would. So coaches, give them some rope.
Yeah.
Give them some rope. Give the game back to them. Allow them to play and have joy in this, because the older they get, the more serious it gets, and we lose that joy. And when an athlete loses joy, they are going to be inhibited from becoming the best version of themselves.
Yeah, love that. I could talk to you for hours, Sue, and I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, if that's cool.
Yes.
I would love to hear from you. What is joy for you as a coach?
Ooh. Well, I first have to acknowledge that in the beginning of my career, I was just a hammer and all I saw were nails. Measuring gaps. I was a gap measurer. We'd come into practice, we're off 13% here, down 12% here, measuring gaps of what we're not.
Yeah.
And I regret that. And to those young coaches out there, you're going to regret that. That's a bell I can't unring. I was a transactional coach. Transactional means I'm the authority. I'm on top. Everybody shut your pie hole and do what I say. And I'm going to be Captain Obvious. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you're not. I have something, the starting lineup, and I need something from you, your talent. And we're going to have an exchange. That's transactional. Okay. When I became a transformational leader, where I listened first, we learned together and created change. We all lifted each other up because we were in it together. Mm-hmm. So for me, I first want to say, I learned the greatest joy when I learned to let go and become a facilitator of the minutes that I was in charge of and handed them over and had a collaborative experience with our athletes. And I truly believe that's when we became our best. But that wasn't until the second part of my career.
Yeah.
So I lost those opportunities. So for me, joy is when gratitude and the fun zone hold hands. When you're having fun and you're grateful for the community you're with, you're going to sit in joy.
It comes to mind real quick for those of you that are nerds like I am, the book, The Second Mountain, and also The Way of a Champion. I feel like hit on this essence of like, we chase this outcome thing, and I did it in my career too. And then you're like, yeah, that's cool. And there's got to be more. And it's just like beautiful unfolding into so much more richness. So anyway, okay, last question. Sue, you kind of hit on this as well, but explicitly, for every coach and parent and human out there, what do you hope that they understand a little bit better?
That if you're in the throes of it right now, it feels somewhat draining and it feels chaotic if you're a parent. It is a journey that sometimes feels like the destination is moving, and you can have a sense of throwing your hands up. And I am not that smart. I've never had a job interview, so don't ask me about job interviews.
That's awesome.
But this is what I got to do. I got to watch parenting come across my porch called UCLA for 27 years. And I'm going to share with you, to share with the parents, this is what great parenting will get you by the time you drop them off in college. That no one knows your daughter better than you do. Make hard decisions that are best for your daughter as long as they're rooted in upholding your commitments and your responsibilities of what you promised as a family. And even though you may be in a tough coaching situation or a tough league, you are responsible for imprinting how they work, how they have a great attitude, and how they manage failure. What I learned about parenting from the mother for 27 years, this is what a great mother looks like in my purview. Because I'm looking for a young adult that comes to UCLA at 18 years old, that can articulate what she is, that can articulate what she's not, that can articulate the path for her to getting better. She has a mother that is her biggest fan and her biggest truth teller. And she has a father who is loyal and dedicated to recognizing her process. Because he loves to go to the games, he loves to break it down. But how many dads out there are paying attention to her process and not just her mechanics, not just her results, but what about acknowledging, hey, I just want to say thanks for taking the time and taking care of your friend. You're a good teammate. Hey, I just want to say, I saw you come early and stay late. I'm so proud of you. Hey, thank you for going forward and helping and reaching that community that needed some help. Thank you for running that fundraiser for more volleyballs for that community that had no equipment. These are the things, daughter, that I stand proud on. Not once about, get a better platform. I've got all the language now because I'm a volleyball person.
I love it.
I got it down. Get your platform right? As a dad, to be loyal to the process. Yeah. So now it becomes standard for her. This is what gets me ready for the moment. Because remember, I'm not a big user of the word confidence. Confidence just means I have belief in the moment. Confidence just has to do with certainty. But we socialized it to attach it to results.
Yeah.
Oh, I was confident that we were going to win. Confidence just means I'm certain in the moment. So be parents that teach certainty every single day around who they are, their character, how they do their work, and let the results take care of themselves, be deeply rooted in the process as a parent. Now, to the parents, super hard to do because you're sitting in the stands with all those Karens that are saying the coach is this, the referee is this. I always tell parents, you want to live a life of joy with travel in softball? I tell the parents, go down to Costco, buy 2 beach chairs and sit down the left field line, bring your ice chest, stay hydrated.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And you will live a life of joy.
Yeah.
You get in the bleachers, it gets very messy, and you better be able to learn what to filter in and filter out. Because remember, we're in trouble with youth sports because anecdotally, we're developing children. So, I'm going to do this with my daughter because the Smiths did that 2 years ago. So I'm going to copy that anecdotally when you need to say, what's the best college fit for my daughter? What are her performance skills? What are her relationship skills? What are all the standards I've got to look at for my daughter? Don't look at what the Jones are doing. You're not raising Susie Jones.
Yeah.
Stay out of their family. No one knows your kid better than you do, mom and dad. Don't get caught up in, I've got to go to this tournament. And it is something that is so personal in developing a daughter. So I'm always out there telling parents, be proactive around discernment on how you're going to pick a team to go to. Parents, you are the most discerning group of people that I know. I want to talk to the parents right now. Yeah. Monday through Friday, parents, you are reading the small print of everything. Life insurance, car insurance, health insurance. You are all over it. Mm-hmm. And then on Saturday, you haven't checked one white label. You haven't checked one fine print. You haven't done the research. You drop your kid off with this person with no certification, no background that you have verified. So to the parents, you are the authority, and then do the homework when you make that commitment. Because if you make a commitment to be on a team, you should stay on that team unless that child is being abused. And so it's also important to recognize the rigor involved with signing on with a club team. Because to all those club directors, thank you for doing all that hard work. Thank you for doing the best you can. But at the same time, parents have to carry their side of it. And so do your homework before you make that big commitment, because nobody knows your daughter better than you. Don't get caught up in this arms race with, I've got to copy so-and-so because they ended up doing this and they ended up going to Stanford. We got it. No, you would never do that. Be that one that's just got one eye on what your daughter needs and hold your daughter accountable in her growth process.
Sue, thank you. I want to keep going, but if I may speak on behalf of the volleyball community, we're so freaking grateful to have you in it with us, leading our USA team in a lot of ways. And I just think the world of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And if I could just indulge, I want the parents and the families and the coaches to know I'm in my chapter 2. I pick my projects. I love this. I always give out my phone number, 310-528-1083. I give my personal phone number because I want parents to know that they have an advocate, right?
Yeah.
I don't need people's money or adulation, but I want parents to know that sometimes you just need somebody in your back pocket. Now, I don't take calls with complaining, know that. And then I'd also like to say something about you. I want to say thank you to you. We were talking earlier when I came to USA, and we were talking about, we had lots of conversation about what a good teammate looks like. And once again, if you think something's important, you have to measure it and you have to reward it. And so that's what we do. We do a lot of assessment. We do a lot of conversations around being a good teammate. And when I came aboard, Courtney, everybody, of course, I didn't know anybody, right? I didn't know a Jordan Larson from just a brand new athlete. And I remember listening to Jordan Larson, and then I was listening to Jordan Poulter and listening to JT and just listening to these people say, oh, good teammates like, someone like Courtney Thompson. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, Courtney Thompson, but I mean, we can't be Courtney Thompson. So all these little random conversations through my worlds, Courtney Thompson. And at this point, like Courtney Thompson's like getting bigger than life. I'm like, I gotta meet this Courtney Thompson. Like she became a muse. Right? Even to the point I had not even met you yet. And I would go and talk to a volleyball group and I'm like, be that person like Courtney Thompson. I haven't even met her and I'm dropping her name, right? I just want to say thank you for being that person. We stand on your shoulders because through the years, everybody was working towards that gold medal. Everybody won that gold medal when we went in and won that gold medal. We stand on your shoulders. We stand on Taiba's shoulders. We stand on all these Danielle Scott's shoulders. We stand on all these former players and coaches that have done the work. Yes, this last group in Tokyo, they got to pick it up, but all of you were a part of building that run. So I want to say thank you to you and all of those players that we stand on their shoulders.
Thank you. I feel the swell of that. And just the gratitude to be a small part of it at one point. And it's so cool. And you've helped so many people that I love. And it's fun to watch from here. So thank you, Sue.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in to Beyond the Court. And special thanks to our guest, Sue Enquist, for joining us today. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode where we chat with Matt and Reed Carlson. These two brothers have led Club V for over 20 years, and they've collectively sent over 400 athletes to play college volleyball. They've largely redefined what's possible in the club volleyball space, and we're so lucky to get to sit down and have a conversation with them. To learn more about League One Volleyball, follow us on Instagram at LOVB. And in the meantime, keep working hard, having fun, and go on and spread the love today.